Judges in Montgomery County traditionally are state events. Under Maryland law, judges who win appointments through a nominating process must stand for election, but they generally go unchallenged. As a result, we normally do not make endorsements of these races, which also fits with our general opposition to selecting judges by popular vote. But the upcoming election for seats in Montgomery County poses a dilemma because of a controversy involving an incumbent judge, Audrey A. Creighton, that raises questions about her judgment and fitness for office. Mr. Connell, good morning and welcome back.
Good morning, Miss Minot. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for joining me. What can you tell us about the judge, Audrey A. Creighton? We've talked about this before, but could you tell our listeners?
Sure, yes, ma'am. Well, Miss Creighton's still on the ballot, even though her candidacy has been repudiated by both the Washington Post and the Montgomery County Gazette newspapers. She was recently uncovered that she has a young boyfriend whom she's lived with in a continuing intimate relationship for over a year. She was his attorney when he was 19 years old. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, recently got out, and moved in with her. And while he was living with her, he was involved in a late-night hit-and-run traffic accident in Germantown, Maryland. Caught by the police, positively identified as the driver who'd fled that scene, searched, and charged with multiple counts of possession of narcotics. He then failed to appear in court to address these charges, and a warrant was issued for his arrest by another judge sitting on Miss Creighton's very court. She then hid him at her house for several weeks, harboring this young man, and then mailed a letter to the court, written under his name, but in her hand. That letter denoted an incorrect return address, because she didn't want the police coming to her house looking for him, and it contained a legal motion seeking to quash his outstanding arrest warrant. The judge didn't quash the arrest warrant, so weeks later, she had that young man brought into her own courtroom, and against clear court rules, had him appear before a friend who ignored the outstanding arrest warrant and summarily dismissed multiple serious criminal charges against this young man. She's blatantly lied to the police in an official investigation of this man, and with impunity obstructed justice on his behalf. Yet she remains one of the so-called sitting judges standing in this election. Although she's been removed from the bench, ma'am, she cannot. Once these events came out, it's lying to the police, harboring a fugitive, obstructing justice. She disappeared for a couple months. Then, when she came back, they did not allow her, and they still do not allow her to hear trials. She's been relegated to some antechamber in the courthouse, to an administrative job.
But she's still on the ballot?
She's still on the ballot, yes, ma'am. And as Mr. Lincoln just pointed out, and I found that very interesting, that last conversation, there is a PAC, maybe not a super PAC, but a PAC here in Montgomery County called the Sitting Judges PAC. And they solicit contributions from these lawyers who appear before these judges to support the so-called sitting judges. And then that PAC is still promoting her candidacy while she hides in the background, in their shadow, so to speak.
So does one know who these lawyers are who contribute to this PAC?
They do. It's a public record. But the problem there is when the solicitations are made, your law firm understands full well that whether or not you contribute to the sitting judges is what they call it, and that's the whole bench. So whether or not you make a contribution, it's a public record. So all the judges are going to know, did such and such law firm make a contribution to this campaign? But one aside, when they say sitting judges, really it's a temporary appointment, an exception to the rule. In Montgomery County, Maryland, and all of the state, we elect our local circuit court judges. So it's a nonpartisan, contested election. But when there's an untimely vacancy prior to the election, an emergency exception allows them to appoint a quick-fix substitute person to go in and stand up until the next election to fill that seat so the court still functions. That's what Miss Creighton is, and that's what two of these other so-called sitting judges are. They're temporary substitutes who were appointed to sit in that spot so the court would continue to function up until the election. Then they filed. They go to the State Board of Elections and file to run as a candidate here. And then when they run, they regrettably they won't debate me and the rest. And the pretext is that they've somehow been appointed by the government to run in this election. But they have not. They're standing on their own merits as individual candidates. And it's not a slate. This PAC pretends they're a slate of candidates. But everyone's here on their own merits. And this one candidate, Miss Creighton, her character and the integrity that she's bringing to bear has been repudiated by, as you said, the Washington Post and the Montgomery County Gazette.
So, Daniel Patrick Connell, what are your bona fides and what do you bring to this discussion? Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm a former Marine, combat decorated United States Marine. I've recently returned from several years in Iraq and Afghanistan as the senior rule of law advisor with the U.S. State Department, mentoring the respective judiciaries in those countries, trying to structure a judicial process consonant with democracy, responsive to the people. I've handled thousands of cases as a public defender in Baltimore City. I've worked with a number of esteemed criminal and civil firms in the state of Maryland. I've been fully vetted, active U.S. security clearances across the board, and an unblemished exemplary record as an attorney in both our state and federal bars for roughly 2 decades. It's that Montgomery County is a majority-minority county, and I come from a multiracial family, ma'am. I have Vietnamese, Filipino, African-American, Puerto Rican, Jewish, Turkish, and, of course, Irish. I can empathize with the people of this county, and I will be accountable to them. I stood in this election so that their vote would count, and it wouldn't be another mock election of pick 2 out of 2, one candidate per vacancy kind of thing, which has been every election for the past 6 elections. Mr. Connell, your family sounds like the United Nations. Yes, ma'am. So election day is Tuesday? It's November 4th, yes, ma'am. November 4th, and you would like the people in Montgomery County to support you? I would, yes, ma'am. I'd be honored to serve them, and I will do everything in my power to vindicate their confidence. And early voting began in Maryland? It did, yes, ma'am, and I've been out there, and as I mentioned, I don't have a PAC. This is my family and my friends who I've been leaning on, and I owe a big debt of gratitude. They've been out there with me, hitting these polling stations, and the breadth of the support that we've received thus far is very, very heartening. We're very pleased, and I think I'm very confident that we're going to do it. And it is the courage, ma'am, of yourself, WPFW, the Washington Post, and the Montgomery County Gazette. Without this press, it would have all been for naught. And I can't thank you enough, Ms. Manoff. Daniel Patrick Connell, all the best on Election Day. Thank you very much, ma'am. All right, take care. You too. And we are continuing here on Community